We are too far down the path. We are too far down the path in this country of just having our opinions shaped and our reactions shaped, our expectations shaped by people who are manipulating data and being dishonest with the American people about the coronavirus. So I want to turn and talk about why I say second opinion needed. And I am, I obviously a little bit of a play on the, people get all sorts of times they go to the doctor and decide they want to get a second opinion before they undergo surgery or treatment for a variety of conditions. America needs a second opinion beside Dr. Fauci. And I do not, I don't know the man. He is 79 years old. He's been in that position or in some position in the federal government dealing with disease management like forever. But he is someone who had experience dealing with pandemics during President Obama's term, dealt with swine flu, did nothing like we're doing now. Nothing like we're doing now. Even after more cases and more deaths, he was out there saying the best advice he had, no advice about shutdown, no advice, stay at home, no advice, all essential businesses must be shut down. Just kind of a, if your kids aren't feeling well, keep them home from school. If you don't feel good, stay home, take it easy, get lots of rest, kind of advice. I'm getting at that we are in our country, we have to recognize that the advice being given to our president is from Dr. Fauci, and Dr. Fauci has a lot of reasons that you could be a little bit concerned about him, starting with the idea that I don't know why, if the other doctors we mentioned have been talking about we're overreacting, we need to do vertical interdiction, why can't we just protect the vulnerable and not sentence everyone to stay at home? You don't hear those kind of things out of Dr. Fauci. In fact, he was lamenting recently, he cannot possibly understand why the few remaining states that actually let their citizens go outside, that don't have shelter-in-place orders. He doesn't understand what's wrong with them. Of course, they should be doing that. He actually made reference to the destruction of the American economy and the danger to our economy of just having it frozen as an inconvenience. It's just inconvenient for Americans. And so I think he's, number one, not behaving the way Fauci, not behaving the way he did under President Obama, not really responding to very renowned experts in the fields of infectious disease who are saying that we could try a more focused approach, we could try a more narrow approach. He's kind of good with the way things are going in our country, which is pretty much we have our country frozen in place. I'll also mention Fauci's the one who is just a... you're allowed to like whatever politicians you want. He has a very bizarre relationship and very bizarre fondness for Hillary Clinton. He twice, in things we've talked about in the show before and has put out what are now public emails because they were discovered in the course of looking into the Russia-Trump collusion and all the emails that Hillary and her team were receiving. Fauci was sending emails to Cheryl Mills, the Hillary Clinton lawyer, not just saying, tell Hillary, hang in there, great job, good speech today. Two different times that we know of, put in emails to Cheryl Mills, please tell Hillary we love her. Her speech brings tears to my eyes. He was praising her for her testimony in front of the Benghazi hearing, which brought her to her famous, what difference at this point does it make when we had the loss of 4 Americans at the hands of Islamic terrorists in Benghazi, and she and her team covered up for and lied over a period of time about what really went on in Benghazi. So, we have a Fauci guy who's fond of Hillary, who is made this comment about it being inconvenient as though that was really the reason, and behaved very differently under the time when you had a very, very serious, pandemic happening with swine flu. Last thing people have been talking about, I really do think, when I name this segment Second Opinion, I think President Trump needs to identify 1, 2, 3, or 4 other true experts in infectious diseases, not people affiliated with Hillary Clinton, not people affiliated with the Clinton Foundation, as Dr. Birx is, not people who have been on the American left, but infectious disease experts. Bring in this Dr. Cass from Yale, bring in the Ioannidis guy from Stanford, Bring in the other two Stanford professors, medical professors, who also wrote a Wall Street Journal piece saying this is a crazy overreaction. Get some of those people into position so Dr. Fauci does not have the unique dictatorial position of the dictator of all policy, health policy, related to how we're going to deal with the coronavirus. We need to have a renewed feel in Washington that says we're not going to surrender to the Fauci edicts, given there are enough reasons to be concerned about where he's coming from and what he stands for. I'm not saying he's a bad guy and want Americans to die. I am saying he's a leftist. And I want to get into one last point about him that is troubling me more and more. And I want to share it with you. And some of you actually, and my listeners, emailed me or put notes up on, I can't remember where all the places. I get information from or contact from so many listeners via email and comments on YouTube and on Facebook and private message and also and Twitter. So it's a little bit hard to keep up where they're all coming from. But I have had more and more messages about the idea of Fauci should actually be questioned just because of his affiliation with Bill Gates. And I will say I am very appreciative for some things, in fact, many things Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation have done. They are trying to do well. They're trying to help the world. They're trying to do good things. But does not mean just because Bill Gates means well and his foundation means well, that his foundation's activities or views should guide and direct American healthcare policy. So let me tell you what I'm talking about. Actually, one last little thing. I saw people making comments about how the how Fauci had made a speech at Georgetown right before President Trump took office. It was early January 2017, so Trump had won, but he wasn't in office yet. He was going to be sworn in January 21st. But Fauci made a speak at an infectious diseases conference at Georgetown, in which he basically said he felt, based on his years and years of experience in Washington, there was no doubt that Trump will face a surprise infectious disease outbreak. Now, people are saying this makes Fauci doubly suspicious because what is he talking about? Here we are in 2017, and he's predicting an infectious disease outbreak. Of course, Fauci says, you know what, as he even said in his statement, based on my years of experience and watching pandemics move around the country, I think these things are, likely. It's certainly in the realm of likelihood. But now I want to talk just a little bit about plant these seeds, and we'll be talking about this more in the days and weeks going forward about how much we have just a very questionable feel coming from Fauci as it relates to to Bill Gates and their initiative. To start with, there was an event called Event 201. And by the way, everything we're talking about, you can read the articles on my website, americacanwetalk.org. On the homepage, under shows, drop down list of links. You can find all these articles, and you can find my petition. I'm mentioning it at the close of the show. My petition is on the homepage. You can click on that and go and sign the petition. I urge you to do that. You get 30 days to get 100,000 signatures. We're already 4 days into it, so we probably won't get to 100,000, but I'm going to try. I want to get enough signatures and the point of my petition, to be clear, is to inspire the Trump administration, to send the message to him, the American people are with you. We want to have our country return to work. We want to have some of these draconian orders lifted. We want America back engaged. So, but to tie in Fauci and Bill Gates, in October of 2019, there was an event that was called Event 201. The event was sponsored by and participated in by Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, the Center for Health Security, World Economic Forum, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. At Event 201, it was invitation only, small group of world leaders basically planning out what would the world do? How would we react? How ready are we to respond to a pandemic? And they specifically talked about a pandemic involving a coronavirus. Now, if you don't know, to be clear, coronavirus is not a new word that came up in this era in 2020 from the Wuhan, where it spawned from Wuhan and moved into the world. Coronavirus is a term, it's years and years old. It's been used in the past to refer to other viruses. This is now being called the novel coronavirus because it's a new one, but it's a type of virus. So back to Event 201, Bill Gates participated in and his foundation and talked about essentially how would the world respond to a coronavirus pandemic. So, it's I will say this in a positive way. I think truly Bill Gates, he made his billions. And I think honestly, it kind of, for many people who come into that kind of wealth, who don't inherit it, who make it, I think many of them have the sense, I should be trying to do something good with my money. I should try to be trying to help the world. I should not be just floating around on a yacht someplace and, zipping around on my private jet. I should be doing things for the world. I will credit him with good intent and good faith. And this is a really logical thing, even though for the common people in America, like you and me, it would seem kind of exotic and extreme. This is the kind of thing they think of, what are you going to do? How are you going to try to help? So trying to help the world figure out, are we ready for a coronavirus pandemic? However, so flowing from that and related to that, it's important to understand that there is a mission within the United Nations, this idea of this 2030, the year 2030, by the year 2030, the World Health Organization being behind this, we can essentially solve many of the world's problems. There's a list of 19 things we can solve: poverty, racism, illiteracy, hunger. It lists all these things we can solve in the world. Most of those things, and the agenda, of course, is how do we get there? How do we make the whole world? It's kind of utopian. I think it's unrealistic, but it's 2030 is this idea we can make the world some utopia. Among the things that they list, the goals they have, the vast majority of them include the goal of getting the whole world vaccinated. Everybody must be vaccinated. And so there is a mission, and Bill Gates, obviously, and his foundation, hugely supportive of vaccinating people around the world. And, some people look at that and say, hey, he's just trying to help. It's just in fact, I will say the Immunization Agenda 2030 from the World Health Organization includes immunization, vaccines, and biologicals. And the agenda is basically we get to everybody by 2030, an immunization agenda, a global strategy to leave no one behind. And this is funded and supported by Bill Gates. Finally, final point, and tying Fauci to where I'm getting to my point about him and why I think Trump needs a new person. He needs a second opinion on how he should respond to this coronavirus. There is, from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, there is a global health leaders. They launched a decade of vaccines collaboration. So they collected world leaders. Global health leaders launched decade of vaccines collaboration, and they're basically trying to get world leaders to collaborate on how do we come together and get the whole world vaccinated, leave no one behind. Many statements that make it sound like, you're pretty much going to be either forced into this or in some way have your rights limited if you don't participate. But on the list of the Leadership Council of the Global Health launch of the decade of vaccine collaboration is none other than Dr. Anthony Fauci. So I'm closing my segment, and I have like one more segment to hit in just a moment, a very, very quick thing. But my point in talking about this is it has been surprising and alarming and not good to realize how often Dr. Fauci has eye-rolled or dismissed or mocked the idea that the hydroxychloroquine and other similar drugs being tested and manufactured ought to be released and used as quickly as possible in our fight with the coronavirus. He's too dedicated to the idea of a vaccine being the solution. I am not against vaccines. I think they're a matter of individual choice. I think if companies want to create them and people want to use them, that's their business. It's a free world. But the idea that it playing into the back of Fauci's head in this, how do we deal with this unbelievable problem? And we have hydroxychloroquine, doctors around the world saying, we're seeing cures, we're seeing people, recover from the coronavirus, recover from COVID-19. But somehow, when those stories are told or he's on stage, he's very, as he was in that clip he played in the start of our show, kind of like, well, yeah, it could be help. I'm not too sure about that. I mean, not giving credit to it that other doctors are. And the broader other point, and I'm going to close up this segment in one more extremely short segment about why we shouldn't weaken ourselves in light of what China is doing. there is, in this whole way in America that we are deciding how we deal with the coronavirus and with COVID-19, it's actually a very vivid display of the difference between how a globalist, left-wing, control freak mindset works and how America and freedom are supposed to work. And so when Fauci is up there being the advisor, more or less, to President Trump, and everything that is coming out of him, coming out of President Trump, is emboldening and encouraging and legitimizing the elected officials around this country, governors, county commissioners, or whatever the head of your county is called, mayors, city councils, issuing edicts. It's all a response that is of the mindset that says, the ruling elite's going to solve this. The Bill Gates that said, we're going to solve this. All we need is the power, and we need you to be fearful, so you give us the power. So you don't question anything we say. You don't question anything we do. And you're going to, if we say the vaccine is the answer, you're going to do the vaccine. And if we say that you're going to stay in your home every time coronavirus comes about, seasonally every year, everyone's going to run back and salute in their home. This is how the left-wing mindset works. I will give, as I said earlier in the show, I will say when we first had this crisis arise in this country, we had people even on the right say, you know what, we have a pretty big problem here. We don't understand how this virus works. We don't want to endanger our people. The safest course is to go on nationwide lockdown. Only essential businesses open. Only essential reasons to leave your house. Mandated, stay in your home and walk in public 6 feet apart and do all these rules, things that the government is imposing. This is that left-wing mindset that says, let us take control and we're going to decide everything and you're just going to salute. And in the beginning, it was kind of like, okay, maybe we have to do this because we're not quite sure what is happening here, but we've been in this long enough. We have now, out of Washington, we have both Fauci, Birx, and others saying that the next 2 weeks are crucial. The next 2 weeks will tell us so much about the trend and the famous curve and flattening the curve and the numbers and where we are. We're going to know all this supposedly in the next couple of weeks. But the spirit of liberty is rising up in this country. The spirit of liberty, people saying, wait a minute. You're telling us the virus is going to come back and be seasonal? You're telling us you're almost sure to be back in the fall? How long are we going to live in this more or less police state mindset that waits to be told whether we're allowed to go to work, whether we're allowed to open our business, whether we're allowed to go out in public for reasons that are not essential? There is a spirit of liberty rising in this country that recognizes we can handle the virus in the way Dr. Katz and other responsible doctors are saying: vertical interdiction, protect the vulnerable, and let the people live. That's the point of my petition. I really urge you to go to my website, americacanwetalk.org. On that website, you can click on sign the petition. You can sign it there. While you're there, subscribe to my newsletter. You can hit subscribe, put your email address in, and get a once a week email from me.